There is a version of power that never raises its voice. It does not argue. It does not explain. It does not chase an apology or demand one. It simply withdraws, quietly, completely, and lets the silence do what words never could. Most people spend their whole lives believing that punishment requires noise, that consequence must be announced, that justice needs a speech attached to it. But the people who actually hold power in a room, the ones who are never manipulated twice by the same person, learned a different law a long time ago. They learned that the coldest, most devastating response a human being can give is no response at all. Think about the last time someone hurt you, and you told them exactly how you felt. You explained your side. You gave them the courtesy of your anger, your disappointment, your reasoning. And what did it get you? Maybe an apology that dissolved within a week. Maybe a promise that quietly expired. Maybe nothing at all. Just the exhausting sensation of having handed someone your pain and watched them shrug at the weight of it. That is the trap almost everyone falls into. The belief that being understood is the same thing as being respected. It is not. Understanding requires effort from the other person. Silence requires nothing from them, and that is exactly why it works. There is a particular kind of person who moves through the world this way, and once you notice them, you cannot unsee it. They do not fight. They do not perform hurt. When someone crosses them, something shifts behind their eyes, and then the access closes. The warmth that used to be available disappears without a single word marking its departure. No confrontation. No dramatic exit. Just a door quietly shutting, and the other person left standing outside it, confused, because nothing was ever said to explain why they were locked out. This is the mechanism powerful people use instead of punishment. And it is far more effective than anything spoken aloud ever could be. The reason this works is rooted in something deeply uncomfortable about human psychology. People do not fear your anger nearly as much as they fear your indifference. Anger tells them they still matter to you. Anger is proof that you are still invested, still reachable, still capable of being pulled back into negotiation. But indifference tells them the opposite. It tells them that whatever they did was significant enough to end the relationship internally, even if externally nothing looks different yet. And the mind cannot rest with that kind of uncertainty. It will replay the moment. It will search for the exact sentence, the exact gesture that caused the shift. This is why, if you have ever done this to someone, you understand. Withdrawing your emotional presence creates a haunting that no argument ever could. If this is resonating with you right now, say it plainly in the comments below. My silence is not weakness, it is control. Because that single sentence is the exact belief that separates people who get walked over from people who never do. Here is the deeper truth beneath all of this. Punishing someone by explaining your pain gives them information. And information is power you are handing back to them. The moment you say, "This hurt me because of this," you have given them a map. You have shown them exactly which lever to pull next time they want a reaction out of you. But withholding that explanation, offering nothing but a colder version of yourself, keeps the map in your hands only. They no longer know what you are thinking. They no longer know if you are hurt, indifferent, plotting, or simply gone. Uncertainty, more than any confrontation, is what truly disarms a person who is used to controlling the emotional temperature of every room they enter. This is not cruelty for its own sake. There is a meaningful difference between someone who withdraws out of spite and someone who withdraws out of self-preservation. The first is reactive, feeding off the drama of the wound. The second is architectural, building a wall calmly, brick by brick, because they have decided that certain behavior no longer deserves access to their time, their warmth, or their attention. The Machiavellian mind understands this distinction instinctively. It is not interested in revenge as spectacle. It is interested in consequence as structure, a permanent shift in access, not a temporary explosion of feeling that can be apologized away by morning. Consider how this plays out in ordinary life, far from palace intrigue or corporate boardrooms. A friend who consistently cancels on you at the last moment does not need a lecture about respect. What they need is silence. Fewer invitations. Shorter replies. Less of your energy spent maintaining a connection they treat as optional. You never say a word about it. You simply stop showing up the way you used to. And within weeks, they feel the absence of something they never even knew they were taking for granted. That absence teaches a lesson no speech ever could, because it is not an argument they can counter. It is simply the new shape of reality, delivered without a single confrontation to push back against. If you have ever done this without realizing it had a name, write it now in the comments. I don't argue, I just disappear from people who don't deserve me. Because that instinct you thought was cold is actually one of the most sophisticated forms of self-respect a person can practice. There is a reason this principle appears again and again throughout history among people who held real influence. The ones who survived courts built on betrayal, who navigated rooms where a single wrong word could cost them everything, understood that emotional transparency was a liability. Every reaction you give away is a piece of yourself handed to someone who may not have earned it. Every explanation is a gift to someone who may use it against you later. The silent punishment is not about pretending nothing happened. It is about refusing to let someone else's behavior dictate how much of yourself gets exposed in the aftermath. This is where most people get it wrong. They think withdrawing means suppressing emotion, pretending to feel nothing, performing a kind of numbness that eventually cracks under pressure. But that is not what this is. The people who master this do feel it, fully, privately, and then they simply decide not to perform it for an audience that has not earned the privilege of watching them process pain. Their silence is not the absence of feeling. It is the refusal to make their feeling available for consumption. And there is an enormous difference between the two. One that only becomes visible once you have lived it yourself. Notice, too, how this reshapes the dynamic of every future interaction. Someone who has experienced your silent withdrawal once will approach you differently the second time. They will measure their words more carefully. They will hesitate before testing a boundary they once crossed without thought. Not because you threatened them, not because you warned them, but because they now carry the memory of what happens when they lose your presence, without any dramatic announcement preceding it. Fear built on unpredictability is far stickier than fear built on explicit threat. Because threats can be dismissed, argued with, negotiated. Unpredictable withdrawal cannot be negotiated with, because there was never a demand attached to it in the first place. This is the part almost no one tells you. Silence only works as a weapon if it is genuine. If you withdraw while secretly hoping they will chase you, checking your phone, waiting for the apology text, you have not mastered this at all. You have simply performed a more elaborate version of begging. The real version requires you to actually let go internally, to release your need for their acknowledgement entirely, so that if they never come back, if they never apologize, if they never even notice, you are still whole. That is the discipline underneath the strategy. It is not a manipulation tactic you deploy while secretly starving for their attention. It is the natural output of someone who has already stopped needing it. Type this now if you feel it settling into you. I release the need to be understood by people who never tried to understand me. Say it. Because the moment you stop needing their comprehension, you stop giving them the power to withhold it from you as punishment of their own. There is one more layer to this, quieter than the rest, and it is the one that separates people who use this instinctively from people who use it with full mastery. It is not enough to withdraw. You must also resist the urge to narrate your withdrawal to anyone, including yourself, as an act of revenge. The moment silence becomes about punishing them, it becomes tethered to them again. Another rope pulling your attention back toward the very person you are supposedly releasing. True mastery treats the withdrawal as simply the natural consequence of your own evolving standards. Nothing more dramatic than a door that closes, because a room is no longer useful to you. There is no performance in it, no audience, no secret hope that they will one day realize what they lost. You simply move forward, and if they notice the absence and change because of it, that is their outcome to sit with, not yours to orchestrate. This is what separates dark control from petty spite. Spite wants to be witnessed. Control does not need an audience at all. The most powerful people you will ever encounter are not the ones performing dominance loudly in a room. They are the ones who quietly decide who continues to have access to them and who does not, and never bother explaining the criteria to anyone, because explaining it would mean caring what the excluded party thinks of the decision. So the next time someone crosses a boundary you have spent years building, resist the instinct to make your case. Resist the pull toward proving your point, defending your feelings, or demanding they understand the damage they caused. Let the silence speak instead. Let the absence of your usual warmth become the only sentence they receive. And while they search for meaning in something you never intend to explain, you will already be gone, further along, lighter. No longer carrying the weight of a conversation that was never going to change anything anyway. If this changed how you see silence, leave one word in the comments below. Sovereign. Let it be the quiet signature of everyone who understands that the loudest form of power was never in the shouting at all. It was always in the walking away.